if I die before I wake, thank you? What the hell is this movie? So a year after the release of the third film, we get yet another sequel from this franchise, but this time, it completely abandons the killer storyline, and the filmmakers were just like, screw it, make it about witches now. The director and writer of the film, Brian Usna, was brought onto the film since he's handled multiple different horror franchises, from Return to the Living Dead to the Reanimator series, and implemented some of his cut ideas from his cult horror film Society in the mix. And after the script was denied for being used for the third movie in this franchise, I guess the fourth time's the charm, and it ended up being made and released on the VHS in 1990. And how weird does the film get? Well, let's get into it. The film is set in sunny Los Angeles, the perfect setting for a Christmas film. Not! Well, unless you're Bad Santa. So the film starts out by Ricky, no, not the same guy who hates people taking out his trash or has a fishbowl for a head. It's just a homeless guy who happens to have the same name, played by Clint Howard, as he gets excited about finding a burger in the gutter.
Fucking A, burger. Oh, no fucking cheese. No cheese!
As he sees a woman combust into flames and falling off a roof to her death. After that, we get our opening credits for the film. That looks like if Billy the Puppet was a member of the Tribe Called Quest. Then we get to our main character Kim, who wants to be a reporter like her boyfriend Hank at the newspaper they work at together, but is really good about the main man in charge.
Eli, maybe...
Oh, could you make some fresh coffee, please? Thanks.
Women.
But when she hears about the story, she starts to investigate it on her own time, and meets the librarian when she goes to check out books on spontaneous combustion, as she offers her what looks like bugs, and just eats it with no question. Then the film begins a series of weird and trippy sequences of Kim vomiting bugs, her seeing giant bugs on the wall, seeing spaghetti hands look like a Donkey Kong Country Returns villain, turning into a giant bugs in a series of rituals, Ricky finding slugs on rooftops, and then pointing innards onto her face. Basically, it's like that one segment from Creepshow if it was extended into an entire feature film. The people behind these rituals is this witch coven, with the librarian that we saw earlier, named Fema, being the lead of it. Orchestrating these rules without having picnics in the park, wearing their symbols on their shirts that look like the Dreamcast logo. Kim tries to stop these rituals, but it ends up in her boyfriend Hank getting killed when she refuses to cooperate, as they spot Ricky in their bedroom making out, watching Silent Night 3.
Santa Claus killer!
She then tries to call the police about what happened, but due to one of her friends also being part of this witch coven and cleaning up the crime scene John Wick style, the police think she's crazy. And after she's told that she needs to call Lonnie, Hank's younger brother, and sacrifice him to the coven to possess Kim's body with Lilith, the woman who died in the opening, who is also Fema's daughter, who couldn't handle the power, they want to bring her back. When Kim refuses to go along with this, she starts bursting into flames until she obeys. Then she kills Lonnie in a very strange and dangerous way, as Ricky kills his family and burns his house down, as the coven meet at the same rooftop as the opening, and before Kim is about to kill Lonnie, she backs out as her hands merge into a giant spear, I guess, and then she stabs Fema as she combusts into flames and falls to the roof just like her daughter in the opening. As the coven's plan is defeated, and Kim and Lonnie walk away as credits roll. And that's Silent Night Deadly Night 4 Initiation. An interesting film to say the least. It definitely has the least Christmas atmosphere in this franchise, apart from a couple scenes by a Christmas tree, and this anti-Semitic dad getting choked by Christmas lights. It doesn't feel like a Christmas movie whatsoever. It is focused on trying to be this cheap Rosemary's Baby meets Suspiria that just gets way too hard for me to enjoy. Mainly because the writing isn't that good, and the acting also isn't better. Apart from the noticeable talent like Reggie Bannister from the Phantasm movies, Clint Howard's fun to see as this weird guy, and Maud Adams, Octopussy herself, as the villain does well for what she was given. But everybody else is pretty bad here, and the dialogue is extremely cringy. And it's not subtle with its messages, and the main character really isn't likable because of how stupid she is. The film is a very slow pace, the plot isn't super interesting, the characters are as flat as paper, and the film isn't funny to laugh at, nor is it scary. I will say it is better than the previous film because there is more interesting stuff going on, but other than that, this film has no place in this franchise, and apart from some cool effects and some noticeable star power, there's not much you're missing out on. I give Silent Night Deadly Night 4 Initiation a D, a 3.5 out of 10, and a skip recommendation. So after 3 Killer Santa Claus movies and a witch coven, what's the next logical step for this franchise? Killer Toys, of course. A year after the release of Initiation, some of the cast members from that film, along with Brian Usna, returning to write the screenplay, and Screaming Mad George, who did all the crazy visuals from Part 4, along with a ton of different other horror films as well, all came back for the final installment in this original series and was released on the VHS in 1991. And does it give whatever's left in this series a good close? Well, let's get into it. The film starts out with our main character Derek catching his parents doing something very naughty.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
As he walks downstairs, he hears a doorbell ring, and he sees a present on his front doorstep, with it saying don't open till Christmas. Then the dad catches him and scolds him for answering the door by himself.
And what is that?
It was on the porch. You didn't hear the bell.
God damn it, Derek, how many times do I have to tell you not to open the front door by yourself?
But when Derek goes upstairs, the dad opens up the present as he sees a Santa ball that turns evil and chokes the dad until he falls to his death on a fire poker. Then we get to 2 weeks later, as Derek becomes mute due to the incidents. More Halloween 5 ripoffs. And then Derek's mom Sarah's friends show up, and Kim and Lonnie from the last movie. So did Lonnie just skip over the fact that Kim was part of a cult that killed his entire family? I guess not. So Sarah is trying to get Derek to speak, like the incident didn't just happen a couple weeks ago, and tries to cheer him up by bringing him to a local toy store, Geppetto's. The owner being played by Mickey Rooney, who if you don't know, he was actually one of the main people that protested against the first movie and said quite a handful against that first movie. And then 7 years later, I guess because he needed to pay his rent somehow, he starts in the 5th installment of this franchise. I guess he lived long enough to see himself become the villain. But anyways, Derek meets the owner, Joe, and his son Pino, which Joe abuses on the regular whenever nobody's around. And there's also this random guy with a mullet and an army jacket that keeps stalking Derek and Sarah, from when he's at a toy store to when he's working at the mall Santa with Ricky? Didn't he get eaten to death by slugs in the last movie? Honestly, who cares about continuity at this point? Meanwhile, the mysterious guy is stacking up on Joe's toys, as they start killing people from this douchey landlord, to Derek's babysitter nearly being killed, and her boyfriend not getting much better luck. All along seeing Derek throwing away a box in the trash can. Once he notices it's the same handwriting from the opening as Lonnie. What, was he just hiding around the bushes? As he grabs the box and sees roller skates falling out of it, as he messes around with them until they go haywire, and he ends up being hit by a car and ends up being in a full body cast. How? He didn't even dead the car! As they show that Pino has out for Derek, stalking him and Sarah in their house, until it's revealed by Joe that they used to live in that house before they had to move out into the shop. And it's also revealed that this mysterious guy Noah is actually Derek's real father, who joined the army after Sarah got pregnant and now is ready to be a family man. But that still doesn't explain why he would get killer toys to your son. But after the babysitter murders, Derek is kidnapped by Joe in his Santa suit and brought to the basement of the toy store, where Pino lives. Sarah and Noah make it there, but get injured in the process, as it's revealed that Joe was actually murdered by Pino, and that he's a robot that replicated Joe's face before deepfaking was a thing, and that Joe made him after his son died in the womb, but he could never be a real son, and Pino is now jealous of Derek for having a real mom, and wants to kill Derek and make love to Sarah, despite he's anatomically incorrect.
Then you can be my mommy.
Damn you! Where's Derek? You don't need Derek! I can be your son now! I can! Don't you see? That's why I took him. I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come!
Get away from me!
I can love you like a real son. I can. I can. I can. I can. I can.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
I guess this series has gone full circle now. Then Sarah and Noah distract Pino from killing Derek, as they break him apart until he shuts off, as the three of them walk away as a new family, and Derek finally speaking again, but then we see a robot opening his eyes, and hearing Pino's laugh, teasing a sequel that we never got, as credits roll.
Just a toy.
And that's Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. And for what it is, it's actually quite decent. It still has a lot of the same issues as the previous films, of having a low budget, not very good character writing, not having the best acting or scares, having a bunch of plot issues, especially revolving around the Noah storyline, and the obvious parallels of Pinocchio, and all the continuity flaws. But I can forgive most of them because the film has quite creative and inventive kills, and actually retains the Christmas atmosphere that Part 4 didn't have. As of fast pace, it has fun with itself, as an interesting enough story, despite there being way too many turns and twists, and they can get very weird. But out of all the sequels besides Part 2, this is the only one I would recommend giving a watch, if you ever catch it on TV or on a streaming service. But it's not great by any means. I give Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker, a C+, a 6.5 out of 10, and a streamer recommendation.
He was a real boy.
So after a 21-year break in this franchise, it finally got a 6th installment in a loose remake in 2012. That took aspects from the original's callbacks, but mostly made a completely new story and characters. But does this remake live up to the original, or at least some of the lesser sequels? Well, let's get into it. The film is set in a small town, Cryer, Wisconsin, and starts off with this mysterious man dressing up in his custom Santa suit as he goes to some this abandoned house, as we see a man strapped to a metal chair wrapped in Christmas lights, and it's revealed that he's a deputy and that he was having an affair with a married woman, who was also tied up upstairs, next to Santa's poopy sink water, as Santa, as I'll refer to for the rest of the movie just for simplicity reasons, fries the deputy's eyes out so they explode like Chip in Part 2, as he kills the other woman off screen. Then we get to our main character of the film, Aubrey Bradamore, played by Jimmy King, another deputy that gets called in from the sheriff, her boss, played by Malcolm McDowell, in the same year when he was one of the burglars in Home Alone 5, and before he really went off the deep end did those terrible Lunchables commercials. But back to the plot, Aubrey doesn't feel like coming in to do it being her first Christmas since her husband died recently.
Who's expecting a record number of Santas? It's gonna be a real clusterfuck.
With all due respect, sir, today's a really tough day for me. It's my first Christmas without John.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to seeing you.
But she also doesn't want to disappoint her father, who is also a former cop. She arrives at the crime scene at the abandoned house after her bathroom was reported, and when she thinks it's a gas leak, ends up finding the remains of the two victims from the opening, as she probably vomits all over the crime scene. Okay, so how many jokes can I take from Dead Meat's videos? Okay, got you. So then Santa starts killing people left and right. From killing a bratty teenage girl, along with killing 3 people during a softcore porn shoot, as Aubrey starts to suspect a couple of naughty Santas being the perpetrators. The first being the cynical Santa played by Donald Logue, who goes by the name Jim Epstein.
I love little girls, they make me feel so good.
No, not that one. And the drug dealer Stein Carson, she tries him down, but they end up being both dead ends. Literally. But before Aubrey shoots him in the head, Carson tells a tale of a Christmas Eve massacre a couple decades ago, when an angry divorced dad got jealous of his ex-wife and armed himself with a flamethrower in a Santa suit and burned his wife to the ground, which will be integral later on. But meanwhile, Santa kills the mayor by strangling him with Christmas lights, and then goes after his slutty daughter Tiffany and her boyfriend Dennis, while they're about to make out, who we've both seen multiple times previously in the film. Tiffany being at the porn show before her coworkers get sliced and diced, and Dennis visiting his catatonic grandpa to steal money from him, as he starts speaking in a callback to the original film.
Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year. You see Santa Claus tonight, boy, you better run. Run for your life.
Speaking of callbacks, Tiffany gets a pelt with deer antlers just like the original, as Dennis gets his head split open like a watermelon, along with killing a perverted priest after he chastises Christmas during a sermon to scare an old lady, as Santa gets the charity money the priest took and gives it to the old lady. But back to Aubrey, after she sues Carson, she spots a tiny present in his kitchen, and then she realizes in flashback, Saw style, that every murder has a small present at the crime scene, including her place. So she rushes to her house, only to find her dad's insides spilled all over the carpet and her mom tied up in the closets. Then Santa makes it to the police station as he kills one of the deputies there, taking out the trash on garbage day.
What is this? Garbage day?
Well, my impression was better. This Santa pulls out his trusty flamethrower and burns the sheriff to death. Or just Malcolm McDowell falling over as a fire green screen effect is placed. The last remaining employee left alive, as Secretary Brenda, is hiding in the closet as Santa tries to find her. Then Aubrey shows up and is able to defeat Santa by shooting his flamethrower, causing him to be burned. But we later find out he somehow escaped and is now in his pickup truck, looking at an old family photo, and it's revealed that the killer is the son of the dad who went crazy and killed his wife, aka his mom, in that flashback sequence. And the man that stopped him and set him ablaze was Aubrey's father. That was hinted at earlier in the film to give Aubrey motivation to stop Santa, as the killer leaves town as credits roll. And that's Silent Night. Although I will say it definitely improved upon rewatch, and definitely is not the worst of this franchise. For me, it is kind of mediocre overall. It has a lot of good gore and kills for horror fanatics. It has that winter atmosphere, and bringing the series back to its roots was refreshing, along with not just being a retread of the original and only having a handful of references, which is nice to see. There is solid acting for the most part. It has a fast pace. It gives you what you want. But for me, the script is really what drives this film down. The character writing is weak, and apart from some of the fun of these actors, like Malcolm McDowell and Donald Logue in their parts.
Where's my figgy pudding? Where's my stocking full of gifts?
Virtually nobody else in the film is likable or charismatic, apart from our main character. And the plot's so messy and all over the place, especially the whole whodunit angle they try to throw in the mix, not really working because similar to the Friday the 13th films, parts 1 and 5, when you have a killer that you don't introduce as one of the main characters, and then you just kind of half-ass his backstory in the last 5 minutes. And also it would have been better if it was just some random Santa killing people, because why not? And for me, it doesn't really stand out that much and has a very generic feel to it. Overall, if you want to see what this remake has to offer, I also recommend you rather watch Dead Meat's video on the topic than just watch this 90 minutes. But I will say, it simply isn't the worst of the franchise, and simply offered more than I was expecting upon rewatch. I give Silent Night a C, a 5.5 out of 10, and an I don't know, it depends on your taste recommendation. So that's the Silent Night Dead Night franchise in a nutshell, or my best attempt to describe it. It's really not like most horror franchises out there. What other horror franchises got through that drastic of a shit through every single installment? Although this franchise certainly has its ups and downs, it's still a franchise worth remembering or at least talking about. And if there's ever another installment in the future, I'll be watching it day one. But before I sign off, let's do a ranking of the entire franchise. Coming in last place, number 6 is Silent Night Dead Night 3 Better Watch Out. At number 5 is Silent Night Dead Night 4 Initiation. At number 4 is Silent Night. And number 3 is Silent Night Dead Night 5 The Toy Maker. And number 2 is the original 1984 Silent Night Dead Night, and coming in first place, number 1, is Garbage Day, bitch. No! So anyways, that's a Silent Night Dead Night franchise. So glad I don't have to say that long ass title anymore. But anyways, what are your thoughts on this franchise? Leave them down in the comments, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. It would truly make my holiday. But anyways, I'm CBMF Productions, I'll see you guys in the next video. And don't forget to have a happy holiday, and a happy new year.